Picture yourself sinking into a comfortable chair late in the evening. Suddenly, the familiar face of Brian Keith appears on the screen. Many remember him fondly as Uncle Bill from Family Affair, or as the warm fatherly figure in Disney's The Parent Trap. His name conjures gentle humor and paternal charm, a reminder of someone who always seemed present in the background of popular entertainment. Yet behind that calm, kind persona stood a man shaped by triumphs and tragedies, whose private struggles were far heavier than the roles he played. His story, intertwined with the heartbreak surrounding his daughter Daisy, remains a poignant testament to the heights of fame and the devastating shadows it can conceal. Born on November 14, 1921 in Bayonne, New Jersey, Brian Keith entered the world during a moment of national transition. World War I had ended just a few years earlier, and America was stepping into a new era of roaring jazz clubs and economic uncertainty. His parents, Robert Keith and Helena Shipman, were both performers. His father was an actor and writer, while his mother worked in stage and radio. Inevitably, the theater coursed through his veins. But Robert and Helena's marriage unraveled when Brian was still young, leaving him divided between households. Sometimes he lived with his father in Hollywood, sometimes with his mother on the stage, and often under the care of his grandmother on Long Island. This fractured upbringing created a scattered sense of home, but gave him an early immersion in the performing arts. His grandmother nurtured his curiosity, teaching him to read at an impressively young age. By the time he was 3, he was already stepping into the unpredictable world of acting. While most toddlers spent their days with crayons and toys, Brian's childhood was filled with glimpses of film sets and overheard dialogue. His father's move to Hollywood exposed him to a studio system shifting from silent films to talkies. Though not yet in the spotlight, Brian absorbed the energy of an industry that could transform lives overnight. By 1939, he graduated from East Rockaway High School just as World War II loomed. Like countless young men, he answered the call of duty. Enlisting in the U.S. Marine Corps in 1942, he served as an air gunner in the Pacific Theater. Combat stripped away any remaining innocence, replacing it with the resilience and gravity that later infused his performances. When the war ended in 1945, Brian returned to a nation weary of conflict but hopeful about the future. Using the GI Bill, he pursued further study in the performing arts. Theater became his training ground, refining his understanding of packing, character, and emotional depth. Productions such as Mr. Roberts and Darkness at Noon gave him the foundation to connect viscerally with audiences. By the early 1950s, producers began noticing his quiet intensity. In 1953, he earned his first credited film role in Arrowhead. Over the decade, he appeared in around 20 films, including Violent Men, 1955, Run of the Arrow, 1957, and Desert Hell, 1958. While not all became classics, they showcased his versatility. At the same time, television was becoming a household fixture. Keith moved easily between film and TV anthologies, gaining a reputation as a dependable performer. In 1955, he starred in his own series Crusader, playing freelance journalist Matt Anders, a man motivated by the atrocities of World War II, an echo of Keith's own past. Unlike many actors who carefully crafted their image, Brian approached his career with a blue-collar attitude. Acting was his job, and he intended to do it well. His breakthrough came in 1961 with Disney's The Parent Trap. Playing the father of twin girls, both portrayed by Hayley Mills, he radiated a fatherly warmth that audiences found authentic. The film cemented his reputation as a believable paternal figure. But the role that made him unforgettable came later in the decade. In 1966, Keith became Uncle Bill Davis in Family Affair. The sitcom followed a Manhattan bachelor suddenly tasked with raising his late brother's 3 orphan children, assisted by the dignified Mr. French, played by Sebastian Cabot. At a time when America was shaken by the Vietnam War and civil rights struggles, the show offered gentle humor and emotional reassurance. Viewers found comfort in Uncle Bill's steady presence, and Keith's understated authenticity made the role iconic. Though he often downplayed his interest in stardom, audiences trusted him as if he were part of their own families. The show ran for 5 seasons, and reruns continued for decades, further securing his place in American television history. Away from the cameras, however, Brian's personal life was complex and often heartbreaking. He married 3 times, first to Frances Helm, then to Judy Landon, with whom he had 5 children, and finally to Victoria Young, with whom he had 2 more. Tragedy struck early when his young son Michael died in childhood, a wound that never fully healed. Yet Keith pressed on, channeling his energy into work. Then in 1997, devastation struck again. His daughter Daisy died by suicide at the age of 27, leaving him shattered. This loss, paired with his own declining health, weighed heavily on him. The family's history of tragedy stretched back further still. In 1932, when Brian was just 10, his stepmother Peg Entwistle, herself an actress, leapt to her death from the H of the Hollywood sign. The haunting story became part of Hollywood lore, symbolizing the destructive shadows of fame. For Brian, it meant growing up with a painful awareness of how thin the line was between glamour and despair. Throughout the 1960s and beyond, Keith displayed his versatility on screen, starring alongside luminaries such as Marlon Brando, Elizabeth Taylor, and Doris Day. He moved comfortably between westerns, comedies, family films, and dramas. Though not a marquee superstar, he became known as a reliable professional who enriched every project. After Family Affair ended in 1971, he continued working steadily. The Brian Keith Show placed him as a pediatrician in Hawaii, followed by ventures like Archer, Pursuit of Happiness, and Heartland. While some projects succeeded more than others, Keith kept exploring new roles, embodying the steady work ethic that defined his life. Yet beneath the success, sorrow lingered. In interviews, Keith projected modesty and gruff humor, but the weight of loss never left him. By the 1990s, his health was failing. Despite quitting smoking years earlier, he developed lung cancer and emphysema. Mounting medical bills added financial strain. Combined with Daisy's death, the burden became unbearable. On June 24, 1997, Brian Keith died by suicide at his Malibu home at the age of 75, just 2 months after Daisy. The news shocked fans who had relied on his fatherly roles for comfort. How could America's Uncle Bill, the Marine hero and steady performer, end his life in such despair? The tragedy underscored how private pain can devastate even those who outwardly appear unshakable. Looking back, Brian Keith's legacy is one of authenticity. He was never the flashiest actor in the room, but audiences trusted him. Whether calmly reassuring worried children on screen or grappling with moral dilemmas in a drama, he conveyed reliability. Viewers today can revisit Family Affair and see the cultural touchstones of the 1960s, or watch The Parent Trap for the tender humor that made it a Disney classic. His lesser-known westerns and dramas also reveal his quiet intensity. In all of them, his life experiences, his childhood upheaval, military service, personal triumphs, and tragedies, infused his work with honesty. Brian Keith's story also serves as a reminder. Hollywood may be a dream factory, but behind its illusions often lie painful realities. For Keith, the losses of 2 children, combined with illness and financial stress, became too much to bear. His life illustrates the coexistence of resilience and vulnerability. He gave warmth to millions, even while wrestling with private sorrows that proved overwhelming. His journey reflects 20th century America itself. From the Great Depression to World War II, through Hollywood's golden age, television's rise, and the cultural transformations of the 1960s and 70s. Remembering Brian Keith means more than recalling his roles. It means recognizing the man who endured war, celebrated family, mourned loss, and kept working despite it all. He seldom sought attention or bragged about his career, but his performances resonated deeply. Generations found comfort in Uncle Bill's presence, a gift that still lingers through reruns and streaming. His voice, calm and gravelly, carried reassurance. His eyes conveyed emotion beyond words. His humor, subtle and dry, felt real rather than staged. These qualities combined to create a figure who defined an era of television as kinder and more sincere. In fan circles, Keith remains America's uncle. Yet remembering him fully requires acknowledging the personal demons he faced. His life demonstrates the duality of strength and vulnerability, success and heartbreak. For those inspired by his story, there is a lesson. Keep moving forward despite adversity, while also remembering to show compassion to others. Behind every smile may lie struggles we cannot see. Perhaps the best way to honor Brian Keith is to keep his memory alive by revisiting his work. Watch an episode of Family Affair, or laugh again at The Parent Trap. Let his gentle presence fill your living room once more, and allow gratitude for the comfort he provided. At the same time, remember his story as a call for kindness, awareness, and empathy toward those who may be silently carrying heavy burdens. He left behind a mosaic of performances, pieces of his soul captured forever on screen. In them, he remains authentic, steady, and deeply human. And in that humanity lies the enduring legacy of Brian Keith, America's Uncle Bill, who gave comfort to millions yet struggled to find enough for himself.